Today we'll be looking at duration, the table of relative note values, also known as the duration table. Duration is the length of time a musical sound is held or sustained. We should remember this from our last lesson. We should be able to remember all 6 note shapes that are in general use and their fractional value in relation to the whole note. Here we have what's known as the duration table, or also known as the table of relative note values. It displays all of the notes from the semibreve at the very top to the demi-semiquaver at the very bottom. It is important that you have a very good understanding of this if you are to write music accurately. It's also good to think of the notes as fractions in relation to the semibreve, or the whole note.
What? I'm so confused. What? I'm so confused. What? I'm so confused. What? I'm so confused.
No need to be confused, we'll go through every note individually. The first note at the top of the pile is the semibreve, also known as the whole note. This is the largest note we use in pipe band drumming notation, and you'll rarely if ever see this note used, purely because it's just so long in terms of duration. The semibreve is described as being just a hollow note head. The semibreve does not have a stem or a tail underneath it. As I said already, you'll rarely if ever use this note. Rarely. You might see it, some folk might use it in a slow air, because you might want to roll for a specific length of time, like 4 beats, but again, you'll never really see this. However, it's good to remember this is the largest note in terms of duration that we will use, or we could use. The next note down is the minim, also known as the half note. This note consists of a hollow note head, a single stem coming down, and no tail at the bottom. 2 minims equal 1 semibreve, as you can see in the diagram. So if you split the semibreve in half, you would get 2 minims. The minim's more commonly used, certainly more than the semibreve, but not as much as the other notes in use. If you see a minim in a 3/4 or a 2/4 march, which is the standard basic tunes that we do, it would last for 2 beats, whatever you're playing, be it a tap, flam or a roll. So you get something like this: tap, 2, tap, 2, tap, 2, tap, or possibly for it lasting 2 beats. The next note down is the crotchet, or the quarter note. The crotchet is a filled in note head with a stem, or a full note head with a stem. You can tell by looking at the table that 2 crotchets equal a single minim, and if you look again, 4 crotchets add up to a single semibreve. I'm sure you can see a pattern starting to form here, with every time we go down a note, we're splitting it in half. Try and remember that, and try keep thinking of that as we go along. So to recap, we split the whole note or semibreve in half, and we've got 2 minims. Split those 2 minims in half, and we ended up with 4 crotchets. When you see a crotchet, I want you to think of it as being the value of the beat note for now. So if we were to play crotchets in the tempos here, 1, 2, crotchets would be the full value of that beat note, just like this. Next note is a quaver, or an 8th note. The quaver is described as being a hollow, a filled in or full note head with a single stem and 1 tail. Again, following the table, you can see that if you split 1 single crotchet in half, you get 2 quavers. Split 2 crotchets in half and you get 4 quavers. All 8 quavers you can see there add up to equal 1 semibreve. If we were playing the quaver note, it would be exactly half that of the crotchet that we covered earlier. So the crotchet was 1, 2, 1, 2. And the same speed, the quavers would be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. You could play them as a roll, 2 and 7 scroll, because they're all the exact same duration. The next note is a semiquaver, or 16th note, and it is a filled in note head or whole note head with a single stem and 2 tails. Again, following the table, you can see 2 quavers will equal 4 semiquavers, or 1 quaver would equal 2 semiquavers. All 16 of the semiquavers add up to equal 1 semibreve. Also worth noting at this stage that the fractional value, i.e. the 16th note, that's the amount of notes there are in relation to the whole note. So a quarter note, which was the crotchet, there's 4 of them in a semibreve. The 8th note, which was the quaver, 8 of them in the semibreve. When playing the semiquaver, it follows a pattern of 1 meander, 2 meander. So if there's your beat, or your crotchets, semiquavers would be the below. 1 meander, 2 meander, 1 meander, 2 meander, 1 meander, 2 meander. The final note for us in the table of relative note values is the demi-semiquaver, or the 32nd note. And that is a filled in note head with a stem and 3 tails. As I said, this is the shortest note that we'll use in duration. We can't go any shorter than this, our hands just aren't fast enough, man, unfortunately. So again, following the table, you'll see 32 of those notes equal 1 semibreve. Or working your way up, 8 of them would equal 4 semiquavers, and then 2 quavers and 1 crotchet. Quite worth a bit of time, or worth your while sitting and going up and down the duration table, just like we're doing there, and getting familiar with all the subdivisions of the notes. To play demi-semiquavers, you've got to split the semiquavers in half. Semiquavers were here, 1 meander, 2 meander, 1 meander, 2 meander. Demi-semiquavers would be here. That's it. Yeah. Easy peasy. And here it is. That's the duration table in all its glory, okay? Don't worry, we'll do a short recap for everyone, so we'll work from the top to bottom again. Here we go, top of the heap, semibreve, or the whole note, largest note in duration we can use. Split in half, you've got 2 minims, or 2 half notes. Split those 2 half notes or minim in half and you got 4 crotchets, or quarter notes. Split those in half and you come down, you've got quavers, or 8th notes. Split the 8th notes or quavers in half, you've got semiquavers, or 16th notes, and finishing at the bottom, splitting in half again, demi-semiquavers, or 32nd notes. Skadoosh. And that's us at the end of the lesson. So please rewind the lesson and go through anything that you feel you need to do again. If you have a solid understanding of the duration table, and you'll find writing music a lot easier because you'll know all of the notes and how to group them together. To understand this lesson a bit better, then try to give yourself some equations to answer, and you can make the equations yourself, but here are a couple. So what would 2 crotchets equal? If you think of it in your duration table and add it up, 2 crotchets add up to 1 single minim, or 2 crotchets could equal 4 quavers. How many quavers are there in a minim? Well, if you think about it, there's 2 quavers in a crotchet, so it would be 4 quavers to make 2 crotchets to make 1 minim. And what 4 notes when added together equal a single crotchet? So take your crotchet, split it in half, that's 2, so that'll be 2 quavers. Split those 2 in half again, you get 4 semiquavers. So 4 semiquavers equal your crotchet.